This is Sanjib Baruah, one of the, I think, leading political scientists who are concerned with Northeast India. And we are in Heidelberg, in the guest house of the University of Heidelberg. And I'm very privileged to talk with you. We already had 3 days or 2 days of very intensive talking about Northeast India, and it was very interesting. And now we are here and to get some record on the burning topics and on his life and his work and how these two are connected. And yeah, please start maybe with telling us when and where you were born, and yeah, we start with that.
I was born in Shillong. First, thank you, Rebecca, for doing this. I was born in Shillong, which you know, which is now in the state of Meghalaya. But as you know, the geography of the area has changed quite a bit. So when I was born, it was part of Assam. It was the capital of Assam. In fact, one reason I was born there was because my father was working for the provincial government of Assam. And so that, and my life began there. I'm an Assamese, as you know, in ethnic sense, so that I'm not a Khasi. At the same time, I think of Shillong as home, and to the extent that I have a sensibility, which I think of northeastern sensibility rather than a more Assamese sensibility, I attribute it entirely to my being born there and my early childhood being there. So I studied only my initial schooling there, however, because my father was a provincial level government officer. So we moved from place to place. From Shillong, I moved to Guwahati, to Nagaland, and then I studied, my college was at Cotton College, Guwahati.
Which year were you born?
I was born in 1951.
Okay.
Yeah. Then
So your first education was in Shillong, in one of the colleges, or just...
No, very early, because I really didn't, I think at the age of about 10 or maybe 9, I forget it. I moved to Guwahati. We kept our ties with Shillong, but nevertheless in terms of living, we lived in other towns in Assam where at a provincial level government officers typically moved around from one place to another. So I lived in different parts of Assam, and I finished high school in a place called Nagaland, in Assam, and then studied, my BA was from Cotton College, Guwahati in '67.
Can you tell us something about this college, since it's very well known? Maybe what is the influence of the college, or what is the strength of the college? Because it has really brought about a number of Assamese, elite people.
Sorry. Well, it's not merely really Assamese, as you know. In the colonial time, there were not that many institutions, though I was born after the colonial rule was over. But nevertheless, the number of colleges and universities were limited. So Cotton College was really the first college, modern college. It was established in 1901 in Guwahati. So in fact, you'll find a really whole generation of people, whether they are Khasis or Assamese or Bengalis, who are from what we now call Northeast India, or Manipuris for that matter. They all may have studied in Cotton College at one time. Only in the period after independence, there's been an expansion of education in a big way. So now that there are many universities, many colleges, but for a long time, it was really Cotton College was the only major institution of modern learning. There are others coming up, but it certainly was the leading one. And given its early beginning, clearly it attracted very, very good students, very competitive, and very, very good faculty. So anybody who studied there, we are grateful. We had a very, very good education.
What did you study in Cotton College?
Well, my interest in politics really goes back to those days. So that I began what in the Indian educational system we call honours. My honours was in political science. So apart from that, I studied some economics and English literature. But my main field, what we call the honours field, was political science in those days.
Mm-hmm. In this political science, did you already were concerned with Northeast India, or it was totally theory?
Not really. As I will tell you, my interest in Northeast India was much later, much later, way beyond even my PhD and all that. Mm-hmm. It was a very different kind of interest. And also generally Indian education, at least those days, wasn't really that conducive to really reacting to or thinking about your immediate environment. we are studying constitutions and political theory. I learned a lot from that. But it wasn't really about studying where you live very much. It was political science in the sense of more academic political science rather than where we lived.
Were there any of your classmates who later became distinguished scholars or something from this time?
Well, the Cotton College was the kind of place where anybody who was good studied there, so that you have a whole range of people, whether they have done all well, but some of them may have done well in journalism. Some may have been academics doing chemistry or physics, became vice chancellors, and they've all done very well. And our friendship circles are such, they're not really specific to political science or what I was studying. So in terms of people I knew in Cotton College, I would say, or who were friends of mine, they really have done well in a wide range of fields, and including literature, journalism, physics.
Is there any names that you're still in contact with and where your friendship goes back to this day?
Well, I wouldn't really say that much. As you know, my life has been quite, moved to a lot of places. Even though I keep in touch with Northeast India very much, most of the people I connect intellectually are really people I got to know much later in life.
So what happened after Cotton College? Where did you move on?
After Cotton College, I went to Delhi University, and Delhi University does a college called Ramjas College, and that's where I did my master's, and that again was in political science. And and that probably was a very important period in terms of my intellectual growth, because you come from Assam, let's face it, is really a somewhat provincial place, and then Delhi was the big city exposure to lots of different ideas, and not merely in the classroom. And that was a period, mind you, I studied so this was, we're talking about the early 70s. So that was a time in India where, say, the Naxalbari, if you know, the Naxalbari was a peasant revolt. And in India you have a term called Naxalites, which refers to Maoists. The reason I'm talking about that is because I think it may have been a small peasant movement, but nevertheless one can in fact talk about a kind of post-Naxalbari generation in an intellectual sense, an intellectual generation sense. The reason I'm putting it this way is simple, is because after all, if you think about the optimism that came out of independence, right? And after all, most people were very optimistic about the whole independent India project, right, in the 50s and 60s. And Naxalbari was probably about, I think, 1968, 69, 70. And I certainly have among my friends who really were sort of, we'll call themselves Naxalites, if you like. But I think more importantly, though, the intellectual impact was quite profound when I look back. In fact, you'll be surprised that a number of major Indian intellectuals you would know, who may have been known as now subaltern studies, this, that, they all had some kind of a Naxalite past, if you like, right? Meaning, we are probably all from that intellectual generation of being beginning to think that the project of independent India has lots of open questions, right? We're not sort of an enthusiastic nationalist the way an earlier generation of intellectuals would be. We are not only willing to criticize, we are willing to think about aspects of India that was not working. And when I talk about Naxalbari in particular, it was not so much the kind of a national tensions, if you like, which I think about these days, but the economic tensions that really the development of India was leaving behind vast numbers of poor people. In a way, was the larger story about Naxalbari, right? The fact that you don't have to completely impressed by the Naxalbari's political ideology. I'm not saying we all were, but after all, beginnings matter. That was the first time it became really kosher, if you like, to think about the fact that independent India's political institutions, the economic project, may not all just mean progress and development and well-being for vast majority of Indians. And I certainly will say that our generation were quite important in taking that on intellectually, thinking about it. And so in that sense, I think it's useful to think of us as a post-Naxalbari generation of Indian intellectuals.